Welcome to Detroit. Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass. You can drown them. And that's what we gotta be. That's who we have to be. Because that's our domain. That is our domain. Because we'll tread water as long as it takes to fucking bury you.
Takes the snap, turns, gives to Montgomery, right side, end zone, touchdown, Detroit Lions! Yes.
We are driven by Detroit.
Hello, Detroit Lions friends, fans, and family members. Welcome on back to yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. I'm your host, David T. Pike, and as always, we're diving on in. So, folks, I'm going to tell you something right now. This has been a very interesting offseason for the Detroit Lions because it almost feels like in some ways the Lions are right back where they were. Maybe not 100%, but they're kind of very close to where they were back, when we were starting 2022. Everybody wanted to say, you know what, the Lions are, they're talented, but there's this problem, there's that problem, whatever. And pretty much what I'm getting at here is it's that no matter how good or whatever good news there is about the Detroit Lions, there's always somebody, somewhere, that has to be a negative Nancy. There's always got to be somebody that's trying to throw a wet blanket on something. And this offseason has been especially true because it's either been about the defense or the offense, particularly because of, the whole thing with the offensive coordinator and defensive coordinators being replaced or being, their jobs are now refilled, whatever the case might be. Oh, well, you guys don't have this player, you guys don't have that player, blah, 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 blah. It's all been much of the same thing. But I will say this right now. It's one thing when, somebody gets good news, and then you have people who are worrywarts. People want to be a certain kind of way about something because they just don't think that you can do something, or they think that there's a reason why maybe you shouldn't have such optimism. That's one thing. But what is another thing altogether is when you get a really good piece of news, and then all of a sudden you get backlash for it. Like, there are people out there now that are just like, oh, well, you didn't deserve that, you didn't earn this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's a whole different kettle of fish altogether. Now, what exactly am I referring to here? What I'm referring to has to do with the most recent news that has come out that the Detroit Lions are actually a really damn good team. And what exactly that is referring to the NFL Top 100 list. The NFL Top 100 list is a list that comes out every year. It's been going on now for a couple of years. And over the subsequent last couple of years, the Lions have been one of the larger teams on said list in terms of the number of players that are on it. Well, now the NFL Top 100 list has officially been set for 2025. It's a list that's voted on by the players and for the players, who they then determine are the best players in the business of what they do. Now, unsurprisingly, the Eagles was the team that led the list out of all players. They had 10 players on their list from 2024. But technically, they only have 9 for 2025 because one of their players is no longer on the team. But the Lions, they tied for second out of all players with 7. They tied with the Houston Texans. What that means right there is that according to the players, nearly 25% of the best players in the NFL are on those 3 teams, the Eagles, the Lions, and the Texans. Now, while no one can deny the talent that these teams have, like I said, there's already been backlash and there's already been a public outcry that has been very swift and very vocal over where certain players are ranked on the list. And no player is getting more flack for that than that of Jared Goff. Why? Well, here's the reason why. Jared Goff, as all of us Lions fans know, ranked number 15 on the list this year. That makes him, according to the list, again, voted on by the players, the 5th highest ranked quarterback on the list. He's only behind Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow, and in that subsequent order. Lamar's the number 1 ranked quarterback, Allen number 2, Mahomes number 3, Burrow number 4. But why many fans have started having an issue with this is the fact that Goff is ranked ahead of quarterbacks like Jalen Hurts and Jayden Daniels, who ranked number 19 and 21 respectfully. Now, why is that an issue? Why are the Detroit Lions and Jared Goff getting backlash over that? Well, the issue comes from the fact that many people still believe that Goff is actually not more talented than either Hurts or Jayden Daniels, and that to have him ranked higher is insulting to those two as the players due to the fact that both players went further last season than Goff did. That's the entire basis of the argument. Some people throw a little bit more here or there in, but most of the argument is based upon the fact that, Goff is not as talented as those guys, and those guys went further than Goff did last year. That is pretty much what sums up, I'd say, about 85 to 90% of most people's arguments. The problem is that what most of these fans that have this issue, over the whole list, and as far as where Goff is ranked versus those two, is that this list is not a measuring stick or a measuring pole on the sole basis of ranking talent. The list says top 100 players as a generic statement. It does not say top 100 most talented players. The reason for this is because the list looks at all aspects when other players are making their rankings. That includes, personal success, team success, stats, importance to the team, and of course, overall performance when they're comparing it to other players. So, that's right there something that is very important to keep in mind when we're having this conversation. Because when you factor in all those things that I just talked about, then Goff is absolutely right where he should be on the list. For actually the first time over the last couple of years, I actually am fine with where Goff is on the list. He's in the top 20 of players. He's ranked 5th out of all quarterbacks on the list. I'm absolutely fine with that ranking. That ranking is justifiable. It is absolutely 100% sensible. Because you have to think about it. Few quarterbacks have performed better than Goff, not only in terms of last year, but also over the last couple of years. And on top of that, not only have few quarterbacks performed better than Goff over that time span that I'm talking about, but very few have been as successful as Goff in terms of what he's done here in Detroit. You can talk about a whole bunch of other franchises and a whole bunch of other quarterbacks that have had success. I'm telling you this right now. It takes a truly special person to be able to come into Detroit when it's at its absolute lowest and turn the team around along with all the other pieces that are assembled with it and make that team now a Super Bowl contender. It takes a truly special somebody. Because let's call it for what it is here. You take a look at what Goff did in 2024. I've said this before multiple times, but the statistics showed that he was a top 5 quarterback. He finished the year in 2024 with the second highest completion percentage rate at 72.4%, second highest passing yard total with 4,629, second pass average per throw with 8.6, fourth highest passing touchdowns with 37, third highest touchdown percentage per throw with 6.9%, the second highest passer rating in the NFL with 111.8, and the sixth highest QBR with a 65.4. Now, I'm going to put something out there really quickly. I know in the past I've said that Goff's QBR was at a 68.4, and that was true. That was based off of what happened at the end of the season. But as we all know, ESPN is constantly updating their algorithms as to what they supposedly say is the QBR ranking, and so they're saying they're doing it for accuracy. So now it's no longer a 68.4 as you would probably find on Pro Football Reference. It's now a 65.4. Trust me, I don't understand how they come up with that number, but that's their number, that's their statistical data, so that's what I go with. But that's what Goff did in 2024. And again, as I've said multiple times, every single statistic, number one, is top 10. Every single statistic except for one is ranked top 5. And every single statistic except for 2 of them are in the top 3. If that's not a top 5 performing quarterback, then there is no such thing. There's absolutely none. But as I also stated, it's not the fact that Goff has been as good as he was last year. Goff has been doing this now for several years. You go back to when he first got back on the list from 2022, so the top 100 players of 2023, Goff, since 2022, has the fourth highest completion percentage rate out of all quarterbacks. He has the most passing yards out of all quarterbacks in that time frame, the fourth highest pass average per throw, the most passing touchdowns. He's tied sixth highest for highest pass touchdown percentage per throw, tied fifth lowest in terms of interception percentage rate per throw, and third highest in terms of passer rating. Again, what do you see there? Every single damn statistic is top 10. Every single damn statistic, save one, is top 5. And on top of that, if you really want to get into it, Jared Goff ranks number 1 in both pass yards and passing touchdowns since 2022. So again, not only has Goff been playing at a top 5 level since 2022, but as I said last year, he was a top 5 quarterback. You could make an argument for top 3. So again, not only are Goff's stats showing how elite he has played through 2024, through last season, but also at the same time how he's been playing at that same elite level for the last 3 years. And that's reflected in Goff's subsequent rankings on the top 100 lists for each of the last 3 years. Because back in 2023, Goff ranked number 66 on the list, which was a 34 spot jump from the previous year because he wasn't on the list. Then in 2024, he jumped up to 48, which was a 22 spot jump. Then this year, he's ranked 15th, which is a 33 spot jump. Think about that. Goff has literally every single year gotten further and further up the freaking list of the top 100 list. And if I recall correctly, I think this is the highest he's ever been ranked on the list. Because I think back when he was with the Rams, I think it was in 2018, he ranked, I think it was number 16 on the list. I could be wrong. But I know he was up there. But I think number 15, that's the highest spot he's ever held. And like I said, every single year, his ranking has exponentially improved over 20 spots every single year than the previous one. Now, I know some fans are still going to protest this because they think that Jared Goff's playoff performance against the Commanders should absolutely disqualify him from being in the top 15, especially when they consider the fact that, Jalen Hurts got to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl, and that Jayden Daniels went further than Goff did. He got to the championship game. But here's what I have a problem with that on. Because problem number one is the players don't agree. And the players are probably the most unbiased and objective list you're ever going to get as far as voting. Because they're voting for each other. It's not coaches, it's not GMs, it's not presidents, CEOs, all that nonsense. It's not the fans. These are the players. That's about as objective and unbiased as you're going to get. So it's very hard to argue with the guys who actually play. But the second reason I have a problem with people that want to have this argument is that, I've said this before, I'll say it again now, and I'll continue to say it. One game is not a determining factor over the course of a whole season. It's just not. Yeah, Goff had a bad game against the Commanders. Nobody's going to deny that. I won't deny that. But Goff also played in very high-profile games throughout the course of the season. Several high-profile games. And, funny enough, he won nearly all of them. The only other game that Goff did not win that was a high-profile game other than the Commanders' divisional game was the game against the Buffalo Bills. And, that's right, you go back to that game, the only reason the Lions were even in that game, stayed in that game, had a chance to win that game was because Goff literally went toe-to-toe with Josh Allen exchanging body blow for body blow, and it was just the Bills that made one more play than we did, and that's how the Bills won the game. But you go back to that game, Goff was absolutely like the best quarterback you possibly could have imagined. The guy threw, 400 plus yards, 4 passing touchdowns. I mean, the guy was just absolutely unstoppable. So it's like, listen, one game does not determine whether or not, your performance is going to, disqualify you from being on a list. And it's certainly not going to disqualify you from ranking higher. Anybody that thinks that way, again, is not being objective and understanding how football works. One game does not define a person. It never has. Now, let's now examine the next two guys that are part of this whole big problem that a lot of fans are having, which is obviously Jalen Hurts and Jayden Daniels. And let's take a look at their production for 2024 and compare it to what Jared Goff did. If you take a look at Jalen Hurts' 2024 statistical production in 2024, like I just said, with the Philadelphia Eagles, this is what you get. He ranked 8th in the NFL last year with completion percentage, ranked 20th in terms of passing yards, tied 4th in terms of pass average per throw, tied 20th in terms of passing touchdowns, 11th in pass touchdown percentage per throw, ranked 5th in passer rating, and ranked 10th in QBR. So, okay here. We already know just based off the rankings, Goff absolutely spanks his ass. It's not even up for debate. Now, I know Eagles fans are going to say, well, that's not fair because, we had Saquon Barkley. We were going to use him. Okay, but the point of the matter is that that's what his statistics were. Whether or not you had Saquon Barkley or not makes no damn bit of difference. You want to know why? I'm just going to use the Lions as a reference here. When we had Barry Sanders, we still had, what was his name? Oh, that's right, Scott Mitchell, who threw for 4,000 yards one year while having Barry Sanders. And I guarantee you this, ain't no Eagles fan going to try and argue that Saquon Barkley's better than Barry Sanders. If you do, you're crazy. That's my whole point. Just because you had Saquon Barkley does not mean that all of a sudden that his production should just automatically fall off a cliff, and that's the excuse. But I also know this. Hurts also last year ran the ball for 630 yards, which was third best out of all quarterbacks, and he had 14 rushing touchdowns, which was best in the league, thanks in large part to the tush push. Now, the stats that, Jalen Hurts has, they're impressive in terms of the qualitative measure. But the issue isn't the quality of the stats, it's the quantity of the stats, because it doesn't match the quality. Even if you were to combine Jalen Hurts' rushing statistics, and you were to then put that up next to Jared Goff, it does not even come close. Goff outproduced Hurts to the tune of 1,159 total yards, because, that's right, Goff also ran the ball for a little bit, albeit only 56 yards, but he also had a receiving yard total that was also for 7 yards. So, Goff outperformed Hurts to the tune of almost 1,200 yards total, and the same is true in terms of touchdowns. Hurts had a combined 32 touchdowns last year. Goff again outperformed him by the tune of 6 because, that's right, Goff had 38. He had 1 receiving touchdown and he had 37 passing touchdowns. Furthermore, you have to take a look at the fact that Goff also has had significantly higher pass completion percentage rates, he has a significantly higher passer rating, and he also has a higher QBR. So yes, while Hurts won the Super Bowl, and I can't take that away from him, and that is a massive accomplishment, and he got farther than Goff, Goff, in terms of production, which is going to be a massive part of why a person gets on the list, absolutely, in terms of production face-off, absolutely crushed Hurts. It's not even close. Because let me put this out there for you. If you think Hurts should have been higher, then why did you not have an issue with the fact that Lamar Jackson is over him? Lamar Jackson didn't get to a Super Bowl. Didn't come close. Neither did Josh Allen. Because, that's right, the other quarterback that got to the Super Bowl was Patrick Mahomes. So why do you have a problem with Goff, but you don't have a problem with Josh Allen or with Lamar Jackson? Yeah, you can say that their talent profile is more, closely matched to what Jalen Hurts is. But if you're wanting to talk about just pure production standpoint, Goff absolutely spanks the ever-living hell out of Hurts. It's not even a comparison. And that is a huge component of what makes up the list rankings as to why the players vote the way they do. Again, your problems with the players is how they vote on who is actually deserving of the spots. Not necessarily, based upon the talent. Because here comes my question. How do you effectively measure talent? How do you do that? Because this ain't Madden ratings. But that's Hurts. Now we get to the next quarterback, which is Jayden Daniels. Now, Jayden Daniels, I'm going to tell you this right now, his stats are a lot better than Jalen Hurts. So there's a better argument there for Jayden Daniels than there is for Jalen Hurts. But here's what I'm going to say. when you take a look at Jayden Daniels' stats from 2024 when he was with the Washington Commanders, this is what he did. 6th best completion percentage out of all quarterbacks, 16th most passing yards, tied 14th in pass average per throw, ranked 10th in passing touchdowns, ranked 9th in pass touchdown percentage rate per throw, ranked 11th in passer rating itself, and ranked 4th in QBR. So again, every single statistic Goff outpaces in terms of the rankings Jayden Daniels, save one, which is the QBR. Now, unlike Hurts, Daniels did not make it to the Super Bowl. Only the NFC Conference Championship game where, obviously, Jayden Daniels lost to Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. But, also unlike Hurts, his stats are better and they're more comparable to Goff. However, they again don't surpass him. Because while Daniels did rush for 891 yards, which was second most out of all quarterbacks last year, and he also added 6 rushing touchdowns, which was tied third, it still leaves him short of Goff's overall production. For total yards, Goff still outproduced Daniels to the tune of 233 yards. And Daniels also had 7 less overall touchdowns than Goff did, as Goff had, again, 38 to Daniels' only 31. But again, some will say that Daniels should still have been put over Goff because, again, he got further. He got to the NFC Conference Championship game. And again, while that is true, the fact of the matter is, as I said earlier, one game does not determine where a person should or should not be on a list. And the reason I can say this is because, okay, Goff had a bad game in the game against, the Commanders in the divisional round. But Daniels' performance in the championship game against the Eagles was not particularly stellar either. Was it better than Goff's? Absolutely it was. But in the championship game, Daniels threw barely over 60% completion rate, and he had a sub-75 passer rating. So he absolutely struggled. He was overwhelmed by the Eagles. And again, it showed in terms of the fact that, if I recall correctly, the Eagles won like 55-28? I mean, dude, that's an even worse ass spanking than we got from the Commanders. And like I said, while he still played better than Goff in the divisional round, the point is that Goff still, again, outperformed him throughout the entire course of the year. And that's the whole basis of the list. You want to take a look at how the person has performed over the whole year, not just one game. That's the basis of the rankings. So yes, I understand why people are upset about this, and I understand why they're giving some backlash to the Lions. But the point of the matter is, Goff has earned and he deserved the spot that he got because he did play like a top 5 quarterback, which is why the players recognized him as the 5th best quarterback in the NFL with where his placement is on the list. So again, it's like, you can be upset about it all you want. That's your right. You're entitled to your opinion. But whether that is what upsets you about the fact that he's the 5th highest ranked quarterback or that he's above Hurts or Daniels is irrelevant. If there's anyone who can make a list like this, it has to be by the players because they're the most unbiased persons that you're going to be able to find to objectively make a list like this. And just to kind of put this out there before I end this, you guys that want to get all upset about Goff being ranked number 15 and over, Jayden Daniels and Jalen Hurts, us Lions fans could potentially have a bone to pick about this list too because, where's Aleem McNeil on the list? Where's Brian Branch on the list? Where's Frank Ragnow on the list? At least 2 of those guys should have been on the list absolutely, in Ragnow and Branch. McNeil, I think, could have had a fair shot to get to the list. But the point of the matter is that the Lions had 3 guys that you could make a very reasonable argument that, they weren't ranked lower than somebody else, but still got on the list. They didn't even get on the list at all. But yet I don't hear Lions fans absolutely whining, crying, and moaning about it. Because it's like, hey, that's what goes on. But I hear a lot of Eagles fans, I hear a lot of Commanders fans, and I hear a lot of just fans that are all about, quarterbacks like just absolutely crazy. They're like, there's no way Goff should be where he's at. Really? Who are you to judge? Where's your expertise? Are you an NFL player? No, you most certainly are not. That's why the players made the list the way they did. That's why they voted it the way that they did. And when you take a look at the data, it absolutely backs up 100% why Goff is where he is on the list. You may not like it. That's fine. But you know what? It's irrelevant because it ain't going to change nothing. So you can be all huffy and puffy about it that you want. But the stats support it, the players support it, and at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So, having said that, I'm going to end this episode and say thank you all for watching yet another episode of MCM Motor City Mania. If you like what you saw, by all means, I highly encourage you all to watch the next episode. If you like the content, I also encourage you all to subscribe to the channel. If you by chance just subscribed and have not yet had a chance to do so, or you subscribed in the past and you forgot to do this at the time, please, want to encourage you all, make sure you hit that bell notification icon so you guys never miss any more content I push out. Hope you all got something in your life that makes you happy, makes you smile. God bless, my friends, and until the next time we meet, I'll see you all in the next episode.